The film that is currently being widely watched again because of the viral milk carton is actually the opener of a trilogy, with rumors of plans to make a fourth film. This film was released in 2013, directed by Swedish filmmaker Michael Hafström, and stars two action film legends, Sylvester Stallone and Arnold Schwarzenegger. The film focuses on intelligence and tactics, not just physical strength, making it a smart and entertaining watch. Its unique premise about an attempt to escape from the world's most secure prison is the main attraction that keeps most viewers engaged until the end. At first glance, this kind of job seems fun. It reminds us of hackers and crackers. Unfortunately, most website security hackers are volunteers, meaning they are not paid. They do it for free, just to be recognized. Unlike Ray Breslin, who actually founded the company Breslin Clark to test the maximum security level of prisons. And this is the escape plan.
Sir! He's always playing big.
In a federal prison in Colorado, Ree watches the guards while burning a page from his Bible and using the ashes to draw on the wall. At that moment, his cellmate informs him that a prisoner is planning to attack Ree in the yard the next day. When the time comes, Ree attacks first and quickly overpowers two other prisoners, fighting like a pro and severely injuring them in the process. The guards immediately capture Ree and take him to solitary confinement, where he's allowed to keep his Bible. As days pass, Ree studies the guards' routines, like their smoking breaks and the use of a keypad lock. Ree also starts making little balls with toilet paper and water, which he hides inside the toilet paper tube. When they bring him lunch, he extracts a transparent plastic sheet from the milk carton. One afternoon, Ree asks a guard for the time. Then he starts counting for himself. Outside, a mysterious woman leaves a car in the prison's parking lot, and as she walks away from it, she uses a control to make it explode. All the guards run to evacuate the prisoners, only to discover Ree has escaped.
You okay? Everybody, I got it.
The fire truck rushes to take care of the fire, and it's revealed Ree is on it, dressed as a fireman, using the chance to escape in a vehicle driven by his friends, Hush and Abigail, who triggered the explosion. They drop Ree at a store by the road and give him a coin.
Don't spend it all in one place.
Which Ree uses to call a certain number and just say the word showtime.
Come on, folks, put your hands in the air! Showtime.
Soon, Ree is surrounded by policemen, and he's arrested again.
Beautiful day.
But he isn't bothered because his contact, Lester, has already taken care of it. Later in the prison, Lester explains that he and Ree work for a company hired by the government to break out of prisons and expose the flaws in their security systems. Ree has already escaped from 14 prisons and explains how he did it this time. He studied the layout and the routines, discovering an unsecured fire garage. He made enemies on purpose to be sent to solitary confinement, where he noticed the prison was understaffed and he was left alone whenever the guards left to smoke. Then, he wrote a letter for his team, hiding the chosen day to escape in code. He also put the plastic sheet on the keypad to get the guards' fingerprints and retrieved it by hiding it in his Bible. The sheet gave him the 4 numbers, so to guess the sequence, he used the paper balls on the door's food hatch to stop it from locking properly. When the guards weren't around, he would put his hand out to test combinations until it worked. While the guards were out smoking, Ree came out, rewound the security cameras a few hours to cover his absence, then used the vents to reach the fire department right before Abigail started the fire. Now, the warden is annoyed, but lets Ree go. Sometime later, in Los Angeles, Ree helps Hush with some computer problems before meeting CIA representative Jessica, who has a job offer. She explains that the CIA has created a new prison whose location can't be shared with Ree or his team, but if he manages to escape from it, they'll pay $5 million instead of the usual $2.5 million. Ree agrees to do it, even if Abigail and Hush are wary. Jessica provides Ree with a cover ID as an explosives terrorist named PTO. His contact in the prison will be Warden Marsh, and Ree is given an evacuation code. A few days later, in New Orleans, Abigail and Hush are still worried about the lack of information they have on this prison and convince Ree to wear a tracking device, which they inject into his arm.
Where am I gonna find another techno thug as a gift to you?
Hey, babe, the transponder's good.
Then, Ree goes to stand on the street to be picked up, only to suddenly be tossed down and thrown into the back of a van. While the vehicle takes off, the masked men scan Ree's body and find the tracker, so they immediately take it out. Abigail's and Hush's computer instantly loses Ree's signal. At the same time, Ree is put to sleep with an injection. Sometime later, Ree wakes up inside a helicopter. While still in a groggy state, he watches as guard Drake beats another inmate up before stabbing him and throwing him out of the helicopter. Then, Drake notices Ree is awake and orders his men to put him to sleep again. When Ree wakes up again, he's finally in prison, but it's nothing like he's ever seen before. All cells are plexiglass cubes hanging from the air, and guards wear black masks to hide their identities. There's also a huge sphere with a camera that moves around to keep an eye on the prisoners. Now that he's awake, Ree is taken to see the warden, who is a man called Hobbes. Worried because this isn't the warden they told him about, Ree gives out his evacuation code, but Hobbes doesn't know what he means and doesn't care. Later, when everyone is taken out of their cells for a break, Ree watches how the guards don't hesitate to brutally beat up anyone who doesn't obey them. The prisoners' jumpsuits have a special code on them, and they're scanned through every door. At that moment, Hobbes says the name of Ree's fake identity through the speakers, as if announcing his presence. After watching another man getting beat up, Ree is approached by some thugs who want to take advantage of the new guy, but Ree immediately breaks the leader's hand and punches him down before the others can react. Prisoner Emil tells them to back away. Emil tries to befriend Ree and explains he used to work for Mannheim, a powerful man who stole from the rich to give to the poor. Mannheim is a wanted man, but Emil refuses to tell Hobbes anything. However, Ree doesn't care about Emil's story. Meanwhile, Hobbes scolds Drake for killing that inmate since it was a capture for a client, implying many people here aren't criminals and they just got on someone's bad side. It's also revealed he has the book Ree wrote. The rest of the day, Ree continues to study the layout of the prison and the behavior of the inmates, like noticing the Muslim prisoners that still pray even if they can't see the sunset. Emil notices Ree watches everything and points out he's the guy to go for favors. So, Ree explains he needs to get into the isolation area. Eager to help, Emil immediately punches him and makes him fall.
That's a favor?
Hey, sometimes favors hurt. Come on, let's see it.
But when Ree punches back, Emil just laughs.
You hit like a bunch of helium.
Then, Ree starts hitting him harder, and an actual fight ensues until the guards come to drag Ree and Emil to the isolation area. The isolation rooms are tiny metal boxes with blinding lights on the side, which torture the prisoners with unbearable heat. Ree does his best to withstand the suffering and inspects the box for anything he can use to escape. A few days later, Dr. Kyrie comes to check on Ree's health, and Ree tries to get information from him, but Kyrie doesn't say anything. On his way out, Kyrie is approached by Drake, who demands to know what they talked about. Kyrie lies, which tells Ree he may have a conscience after all. Afterward, Emil and Ree are sent back to the general area, where Ree starts making a drawing on the table while telling Emil he'll need a piece of metal, promising to get Emil out too if he helps. Next, Emil asks to speak to Hobbes and pretends he'll finally confess Mannheim's location. He asks for some paper to draw a map, only to make a very rude drawing instead. A furious Hobbes makes his men hold Emil down to waterboard him.
Get him down.
And after enduring lots of pain, Emil uses the chance to steal a metal drain cover. Later, in the common area, Emil gives the cover to Ree, who tells him his real identity and how he got there. By having watched the layout, Ree guesses this prison has been built underground and that there's something under the box's hatch that should allow him to escape. Since the place is subterranean, there's moisture in the air that has caused the steel rivets to rust. So, Ree will apply toothpaste and heat with the metal cover to make the rivets snap. First, they need to be sent to isolation again. So Emil approaches Javed and starts a fight by insulting his mother. Javed's Muslim group comes in his defense, and after hiding some bread in his clothes, rejoins the fight. But they only get to exchange a few hits before the guards arrive to subdue everyone with tasers. Once everyone is back in the heat boxes, Ree starts working on the rivets while hiding what he's doing with his own body. It's very hard to work because of the heat, and his hands start bleeding. So, whenever he makes too much noise, Emil hides it by yelling in pain. Eventually, Ree manages to remove all the rivets and covers the security camera with the bread before knocking on the wall to give Emil a signal. At that moment, Emil begins to cry and yell like crazy in German, getting all the guards' attention on him. Ree uses the chance to finally open the hatch and begins going down a ladder until he lands in a corridor. The door is locked, so he decides to use some pipes to start climbing up, only to accidentally tear off some electrical cables and break a few pipes in the process. Ree just keeps going until he finds another hatch, which he opens to find the shocking truth. This prison is inside an oil tanker ship in the middle of the ocean. Suddenly, he notices some guards nearby, so he quickly hides and goes back into the hatch. The leaking water pushes him away, and he ends up falling, but the corridor is getting flooded, so he lands safely in the water as the boxes slowly get flooded too. An alarm starts ringing, and the guards rush to take the prisoners out of isolation. Ree swims as fast as he can, and after lots of effort to go against the water pressure on the stairs, he returns to his box right before the guards come for him. Meanwhile, Abigail and Hush inform Lester that Jessica's payment has been frozen, but Lester tells them he's already talked to her, and everything is going well. After the water is taken care of, Hobbes finds the rivets in Ree's box and starts getting suspicious. He makes a call that reveals Lester has been in contact with him all along, and Lester tells Hobbes Ree's real identity. Lester asks him to keep Ree forever and then asks Hobbes for information on Mannheim, because banks all over the world want his head. Hobbes explains Emil may be working with Ree, so Lester gives him permission to break Ree too. Later in the evening, Ree is trying to sleep, but a guard keeps tapping on his wall to keep him awake, and he beats him up in the morning as a wake-up call. This starts happening every day, and Ree's body begins getting so weak that he can barely move. Emil gives him as many pep talks as possible to keep up Ree's spirit, and Ree ends up sharing a story. He used to be a prosecutor, and a criminal he sent to jail one day escaped to kill his family for revenge. The drawing Ree is making is the last memory of his kid. Since then, he makes sure criminals won't escape ever again. For the next few days, Ree studies the guards' routine to find any useful habits, starting to assign names to them by differentiating them through body shapes to start making a plan. He first needs to know where they are, but there were no landmarks when he went out. One day during lunch, Emil discreetly stabs Ree, who is taken to Kyrie's office for stitches. Ree suddenly pretends he's in great pain and falls, using the chance to steal a few things from a tray. He also reminds Kyrie of his oath, but the doctor still ignores his questions. When Ree returns to the common area, Emil gives him a pen and a prisoner's glasses. Hiding his hands under the table, Ree builds a scene, which should help them determine where they are based on the stars. Drake and Hobbes notice weird movements on the security camera, so Hobbes asks to see Ree. Fortunately, he hides the tool before he's dragged away to a new section, where Hobbes tells him he knows his identity and admits he used his book to design this facility. Hobbes is ready to leave him there forever, so Ree lies and says he can get information on Mannheim from Emil. Then, Ree is sent back to the common area and tells Emil of the new plan. Later, while Ree is giving a bunch of fake information to Hobbes, Emil approaches Javed and gives him the scene, promising to help him escape too if he helps them. Afterward, Javed contacts Hobbes and tells him the others are planning to escape. So Hobbes agrees to buy his information by letting him pray in open air, as his beliefs demand. This is all part of the plan, and that night in his new cell, Javed uses the scene to get the coordinates of their location. The next day, over lunch, Javed gives his notes to Ree, who puts it together with things like the weather he felt when he was out, the date mentioned by a newbie, and the direction the water goes down in the toilet to conclude they're near the coast of Morocco. Next, Ree swallows some clothing powder to get sick and be sent to Kyrie's office, where he tells the doctor to go to Hobbes' office and read a passage on a particular page in a certain book. After some hesitation, Kyrie checks the book and finds the Hippocratic Oath. The next day, Kyrie asks the guards to bring Ree to his office for a checkup. He wonders how Kyrie knew the exact page, and Ree explains he wrote it, which confirms his identity and finally convinces Kyrie to help. Afterward, Ree gives Hobbes a fake location to find Mannheim, so they have 24 hours to escape before Hobbes catches on. As part of the plan, Javed also meets with Hobbes and tells him about the incoming escape. So Hobbes rushes to check the cameras and notices Ree tapping on his cell wall, recognizing Morse code. They discover a message about a plan to riot in Block C during transfer. Meanwhile, Kyrie is sending a coded email to request help. After most of the guards are sent to Block C, Javed starts a riot in the common area, which soon becomes absolute chaos. As Hobbes tries to make his men change areas quickly, Ree, Emil, and Javed rush to knock down the few guards around them and steal their weapons. The incoming guards start subduing the prisoners, but also throw a gas bomb, allowing the trio to sneak away unnoticed. Ree explains that they only have 11 minutes to meet with the rescuers, who are approaching in a helicopter. They rush upstairs and shoot a door open before Ree finds a security camera. But since the cameras are connected, Ree messes with this one to disable them all. At that moment, Hobbes activates lockdown protocol. So when the trio is about to get out, they find the exit locked. The trio starts wandering around looking for another exit, and soon they're surrounded by guards who open fire. They immediately shoot back and quickly bring down all the men. But Javed gets wounded in the process. More guards are coming, so Emil and Ree drag Javed as they run to hide behind another door. Ree realizes they were found by a motion detector, so he disables it while a furious Hobbes taunts him through the speakers. Then, Ree decides he must find the engine room to shut down the power, so he gives his gun to Javed and tells him and Emil to take the stairs.
Do what you gotta do. There's always plan B.
After Ree leaves, Javed admits he won't make it, so he takes Emil's gun too and asks him to go on without him. Soon after, Emil also leaves. Javed is surrounded by guards, and he bravely makes sure to shoot all of them down before he's brought down by a hidden shooter. When Hobbes finds him, Javed says his last words to his god before he's killed. Meanwhile, Drake goes after Ree in the engine room. Ree jumps around and runs to dodge Drake's bullets. Then he manages to surprise him from behind. In the struggle, Drake loses his gun, but he takes out a knife, and a hand-to-hand fight ensues. After exchanging a few hits, Drake chokes Ree for a few seconds before starting to kick him down. So, Ree grabs his leg to overpower him and get the fighting going again. Both men steal a few tools to use as weapons, and after exchanging a few hits, Ree pushes Drake down the stairs, killing him. Afterward, Ree rushes to the control panel, knocks out the technician, and turns off the ship's generators. All lights go out in the ship, and the doors open, allowing Emil to come out. At that moment, a helicopter opens fire on the ship before landing on the deck, where a few men come out to start a gunfight with the guards. Emil sneaks around while avoiding bullets and makes it to the chopper, where one of the soldiers has been shot down. The pilot wants to take off, but Emil asks him to wait for Ree before he takes over a machine gun to join the fight, killing dozens of guards in seconds. In the engine room, Hobbes is looking for Ree, who is hiding inside a water tank. At that moment, the guards turn the ship's systems back on, so Emil has no choice but to leave with his guys in the helicopter. Ree's tank starts filling with water, but before he can drown, the tank automatically flushes itself and expels Ree into the ocean. He immediately swims to the surface and throws a ladder down for him. But as he climbs up, Hobbes and the guards open fire on them. Emil gives Ree a gun, and they both fire back until Emil gets wounded in the shoulder. Hobbes keeps missing his moving target, and Ree uses the chance to shoot a bunch of oil tanks, causing a big explosion that kills Hobbes. A few hours later, the helicopter drops the duo on the Moroccan beach, where they're picked up by Jessica. It turns out Emil is Mannheim, and Jessica is his daughter, so she hired Ree to get her dad out of prison. She also confirms that Lester is dirty and betrayed her too. Sometime later, Ree reunites with Abigail, who has acquired information on Lester. He had been offered to be CEO of the prison program if Ree was unable to get out. Now, Lester is trying to get away, but Hush is waiting for him in his car and quickly knocks him out. When Lester wakes up, he discovers the car is inside a box on top of a ship in the middle of the ocean. For those of you who love films from the 80s to the 90s, this movie can certainly be considered a thirst quencher, as it finally shows Sylvester Stallone and Arnold Schwarzenegger collaborating in a film. In The Expendables, unfortunately, the packaging was less polished, with some action scenes feeling incomplete, especially for stars like Sylvester Stallone and Arnold Schwarzenegger. Still, the factor of age is understandable. Not to mention, the overly exaggerated backstory becomes a montage that wastes quite a bit of time. However, behind these weaknesses, the action presented in this film becomes the main attraction. As a result, the milk carton even went viral on social media. The plot twist is also considered successful by maintaining it from the beginning. This film truly becomes a successful entertainment for fans, much like what Con Air, even though it is far from the level of The Great Escape or The Shawshank Redemption. The danger of the prison becomes even more palpable after the prison facility's name is revealed as the Tomb, known for its high security level. The plot is made as interesting as possible because the Tomb's facility is actually based on security references written by Ray Breslin himself in his book. So, it can be said that Ray is trapped in the prison he designed. Fortunately, Ray is still able to recognize the smallest weaknesses of the prison and helps them successfully escape. Another interesting element is the license plate of the car Ray rides in at the beginning of the film, which reads LKY Ray. Indeed, Ray experiences a lot of luck in this film, from the story of hunting Victor, which attracts worldwide attention, including from the money-minded Hobbes, to the valve leak on the ship that almost sinks them but doesn't.
Going in! Going out!
What draws the most attention is the religious element, which uses the Holy Scripture as their salvation. At the beginning of the film, Ray is shown holding his Bible, which becomes the key to their escape. Towards the final act, Javed is able to detect their location and uses it as the starting point for their successful escape. This is a very good example of pluralism, although it is regrettable that Javed must die at the hands of Hobbes.
Whatever.
Curtis James Jackson's small role also draws attention. He is better known to his fans as the rapper 50 Cent. Vincent D'Onofrio also delivers a quite annoying performance, although it is very different from one of his roles familiar to Marvel fans, namely Kingpin in the Netflix series Daredevil. You might have your own opinions about this film. Don't hesitate to add them in the comment section below. And, of course, thank you to those of you who have watched this film from beginning to end. May your days always be lucky.